This presentation is titled Understanding Peer Relationships and Bullying in Early Schooling, using the pictorial measure of school stress and wellbeing, or PMSSW, to explore children's experiences. This research is being conducted by myself, Dr. Elizabeth Murray, and my colleague, Professor Linda Harrison. I am from Sturt University in Australia, and Professor Harrison is from Macquarie University in Australia. We would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which the Dubbo campus of Sturt University and the Ryde campus of Macquarie University are located. They include the Tubbagar peoples of the Wiradjuri Nation and the Waddamalakal clan of the Darug Nation. Their cultures and customs have continued to nurture this land since the Dreamtime. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. And we also acknowledge and pay our respects to our Indigenous colleagues who are watching this presentation. We know that the first year of school is a significant period of transition in children's lives, bringing new challenges and expectations for managing difficult feelings and difficult peer relationships. It's a time when children need to adapt, learn, grow, and often change. So, new types of skills and understandings are required, as are new ways of navigating friendships and relationships with others. Sometimes those can include negative relationships, and in this presentation, we are going to focus on bullying relationships. Research has shown that the role of resilience, the role of teacher care and support, and the role of the bystander all play an important part in children's response to and coping with bullying. It is clear from research with young children that children themselves are the best source of evidence about their early school experiences. But how children's diverse perceptions can be assessed is less apparent. This paper aims to present a new method for examining young children's perspectives of negative peer relationships and bullying, examine young children's views and experiences of difficult social situations in early schooling, consider the different strategies children draw on to cope with or manage their feelings about bullying, and identify patterns of change and continuity in children's feelings, reasons, and strategies for managing negative peer relationships across the first year of school. The current research draws on Bronfenbrenner's original ecological systems theory and Dunlop's subsequent systems model of transition, which views child development as a complex system of relationships affected by multiple levels of the surroundings. In this case, we're interested in how children interact with their microsystem, that is, with their peers, their teachers, and their school. We use a projective test which asks children to respond to hypothetical situations. This type of test encourages children's responses or stories which can be interpreted to evaluate an individual's state of mind about relationships. The current study included 101 kindergarten students from 8 public schools in regional New South Wales, Australia. In New South Wales, kindergarten is the first year of formal schooling in a primary or elementary school. The sample included 51 boys and 50 girls. 85% of the children in this study were from an Anglo-Celtic background. 11.5% were from an Indigenous Australian cultural background, and 2% were from another cultural background. Children's ages range between 4.7 and 6.25 years, and in New South Wales, children must turn 5 by the middle of the school year to be eligible to commence at a public school. Data were collected at 2 points in the 4-term kindergarten year. Time 1, the beginning of the school year from week 6 to 10 of the first term, and time 2, the end of the school year, or weeks 3 to 7 of the 4th or last term. Principals and teachers consented to school and teacher participation, and parents consented to their child's participation. Each child agreed to participate in a 20-minute interview in a quiet room close to or adjoining the kindergarten classroom. At the commencement of each child interview, children were informed about the interview activities and were asked to provide assent for their participation. Child interviews were audio taped with children's permission, and children were shown the audio tape recorder and had the opportunity to explore how it worked. For example, hear their voice play back. Children were given the opportunity to opt out of the interview activities if they no longer wanted to participate at any point. No children chose to do this. The instrument reported in the current paper was developed by the authors and is called the Pictorial Measure of School Stress and Wellbeing. 10 everyday scenarios were designed to tap 3 broad domains: personal challenges, interpersonal challenges, and institutional challenges. The final scenario from the pictorial measure is reported here today and portrays a child being pushed by others. For this picture, children in the study were asked 5 questions about the child being pushed, considered the victim, the children pushing, considered the perpetrators, and the children watching, considered the bystanders. The 5 questions included: how does the child in the picture, being pushed or pushing or watching, feel? Why do they feel the child's word? Do you think they would want the teacher to know they're feeling the child's word? Why or why not? And what do you think will happen next? Children's responses were analysed qualitatively using thematic analysis. For question 1, children's responses were coded as either a 1, which indicated a positive response, or a 2, which indicated a negative response. For question 2, children's responses were coded as personal, interpersonal, or institutional. Personal responses included children's personal attitudes and feelings about school situations and expectations for independence. Interpersonal responses included feelings associated with the teacher and peers and identified friendships or conflict with peers. Institutional responses related to school and or classroom rules and maybe the expectations related to organisational aspects of school and how to behave in the educational environment. Question 3 asked the child whether or not they would want to tell their teacher how they're feeling. Children gave both positive and negative responses to this question. Question 4 asked children to explain why they would tell their teacher how they were feeling or why they would not tell their teacher. Responses were coded into personal, interpersonal, and institutional responses. Personal responses related to child attitudes and or feelings about the situation. Interpersonal responses included making the teacher happy, and the teacher wanting to know, and teacher care and support. Institutional responses related to school or classroom rules, teacher expectations, and organisational aspects of school. Question 5 asked children what do they think will happen next. Children gave responses indicating constructive solutions, which showed a reliance on personal skills and knowledge, and using the teacher for support. A reliance on school rules, where children explained relinquished control or a lack of goal-directed behaviour. And avoidance, where children's responses indicated avoidant thoughts or behaviours, or a focus on obscure or unrealistic solutions. Results presented for children's responses for the scenario, in particular for the child being pushed or the victim, the children pushing, the perpetrators, and the children watching, the bystanders. For the purpose of this presentation, children's responses to the scenario are categorised around their responses to the question, what do you think will happen next, or their solution responses. We can see that for the child being pushed or the victim of bullying, children always projected negative feelings, and most children said the child being pushed would want their teacher to know how they're feeling. What is interesting is how they responded to this negative bullying scenario and what type of solution they gave as a response to the child in the picture being pushed. Some children gave constructive solutions, which showed a reliance on personal coping strategies. They explained that the child would do what the child would do personally to respond to the situation. For example, they would walk away and tell the teacher. Other children gave solutions which showed a reliance on the school rules and routines. For example, one child said they will get a red playground card. And other children suggested solutions which were not constructive and indicated an avoidant response. For example, when one child said they will go inside and will play kittens. Results on this slide are presented in particular for the children pushing or the perpetrators of bullying. Children's responses to the scenario are again categorized around their responses to the question, what do you think will happen next? Or their solution responses. For the children pushing others or the perpetrators of bullying, children didn't always share their negative feelings, and they often didn't want their teacher to know how they were feeling. Sometimes they explained the perpetrators would be happy because they like pushing other people, and other times they thought they would feel sad or naughty because they thought they were going to get in trouble. Even more interesting is how children responded to this negative bullying scenario and what type of solution they gave as a response to the child in the picture being pushed or picture pushing others. Some children gave personal solutions, which showed a reliance on personal coping strategies. These weren't always constructive for perpetrators, though. For example, when one child in the study explained that the child in the picture would feel happy because they like pushing people, they explained that the child pushing would pretend they hadn't been pushing and would lie to the teacher if they asked what happened. Other children suggested solutions which showed a reliance on the school rules and routines. For example, that the child pushing would get in trouble and have to go to the principal. And other children suggested solutions which were avoidant in nature. For example, after feeling naughty because the teacher asked them to stop fighting, they would go and play in the sandpit. Results on this slide are presented for children's responses to the scenario, in particular for the children watching a child being pushed or the bystanders of bullying. Children's responses to the scenario are again categorized around their responses to the question, what do you think will happen next? Or their solution responses. For the children watching another child being pushed or the bystanders of bullying, they shared negative feelings. Children explained that the bystanders in the picture would feel sad or angry because the person being pushed might be their friend. Children suggested that bystanders would want the teacher to know how they're feeling. For the most part, children explained negative feelings about being a bystander. Children explained they would feel angry or sad if they were watching others being pushed. Some children gave constructive or personal solutions, which sometimes indicated a practical outcome, such as telling the bullies to stop it or cut it out, and telling the teacher. Other times, these personal responses indicated that the bystanders would feel lonely or silly for watching the victim get bullied. Other children suggested a solution which showed a reliance on the school rules and routines. For example, that the bell would ring and they'll all go and play again. And other children suggested solutions which were avoidant in nature. For example, after feeling sad because their friend is being pushed, they would just stand there. We can conclude from the results presented that the pictorial measure of school stress and wellbeing is a useful measure to capture children's feelings and strategies for coping with bullying throughout the first year of school. The prevalence of bullying increases with age, so understanding how children think about and make sense of bullying will help researchers, teachers, and parents help prevent bullying behaviours and increase constructive coping strategies in children and adolescents. Initial analyses indicate that children would want the teacher to know their feelings. Some children showed a strong reliance on the teacher for help and support, whereas others thought the teacher should be told in order to follow the rules. Children's strategies for coping with bullying over the kindergarten year often included a reliance on the school rules, However, as a way of overcoming the stress, so they often included a reliance on the school rules as a way of overcoming the stress, or they showed avoidant behaviour as a way of escaping or reducing harm in a situation. However, many children also explained more constructive solutions, especially for bystanders and victims. The broad implications for children, families, and practitioners include understanding how young children cope with negative school scenarios, especially in the early years of school. It is important in helping improve children's transition and adjustment to school, and in providing them with support during this stressful time. For practitioners, understanding how children respond to and process negative school scenarios allows educators to support them to develop resilience and empathy. It's important for children to become more constructive in their responses to bullying scenarios, rather than having an over-reliance on the school rules or displaying avoidant behaviours. Thank you for listening to our presentation and for participating in this great Early Childhood Voices 2022 conference. Please don't hesitate to contact me for further information about this research, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Bye for now.